Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Conquerors crew. And I have a very unique guest with us today. He's written a #1 Amazon bestseller. And it's a little different topic that we normally talk about today, but it will be applicable. So finance and resiliency and never quitting. It's all wrapped up in this story with David Nassief. But before we get into it, are you good on your side?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. Guys, I always like to just take a minute or two and talk about our 3 pillars and just kind of lay the groundwork of how the podcast is going to go today, right? And so the first one is hope. And for us, hope stands for helping other people excel. And I love that because we do these shows on Wednesday. It's kind of like a midweek check, right? And some people may kind of be struggling with a little hope during the week. And then other people are feeling pretty good. And so if you have a little hope, share it. And if you need some, hopefully you can pick some up, right? And then the next one is grit. And for us, grit, the G is grace. And, it just kind of normally seems like with grace that it's easier to give grace to others than to yourself. And I'm talking about the kind of grace that you just, hey, man, don't be so hard on yourself. I had a mentor when I lived in New Zealand and I was going through my cancer stuff and all that. And he said, hey, you know what, Trent? You are so nice to everybody that I know, but you're not nice to yourself. You need to be kind to yourself. I've never forgotten that. And so that's the G. The R is for resiliency. And, I've had cancer 3 times and people are like, oh, I never could have done what you've done. You're a human being. We rise to the occasion. We always do that. We can always do more than we think, but you're not going to run an Ironman the first time you try. So we all have some inherent skills of being resilient, but they have to be trained. They have to be worked on. And so, that's how you build resiliency, just like you do with every other thing in life that means something, right? And the I is for integrity. And I'm not talking about the kind of integrity when you say, hey, you, I see you, you're breaking the rules. I'm talking about the integrity that you have with yourself. The kind where you're up, you're nervous, it's all not, you can't sleep. You look yourself in the mirror at 3 a.m. Are you honest with yourself? Are you being honest with yourself? I'm talking about honest integrity with yourself. And the T is for teachable. I think that we never stop learning until the day that we leave this planet. And, it usually just kind of happens to where when you think you get kind of cocky that you get knocked off your high horse. And I think that's just how it goes. And the last one, pretty easy, is no quit. So hope, grit, and no quit are our 3 kind of pillars of the Conquerors crew. And hey, I hope those spoke to you guys. And for the new people, welcome. And for those that are here most weeks, you probably needed a reminder for one of those. So David, man, thanks for listening. How are you today? Did any of those speak to you? Did you think about any of those comments?
Absolutely, Trent. First of all, thank you for having me on. I'm thrilled to be here with you today. But the hope, helping other people excel is my mission right now. But the grit is so important too, and the no quit. Oh my gosh, that is. Having no plan B was I was all about during my experience. So I can't pick one. I'm sorry, I have to pick all 3. They're all excellent.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love it. So you have a very interesting story, and I think it's inspirational, and it speaks resilience, and all our pillars. But before we kind of get into that, sure. I always like to kind of, man, I'm from the deep South, right? And in the South, we're like, well, where are they from? Where they're from? What do they do? They got brothers and sisters, where do they live? What do they, those kind of things. So, we're not going to go through it like that. Okay. It's not going to be an FBI freaking, polygraph, but
oh, that's good.
Give us a little bit about where you're born and raised, and just a little bit about your background. Yeah.
Sure. I was born and raised in a little small town in Ohio called Ashtabula. It's right on Lake Erie, and it's
Okay.
between Cleveland and Erie, and it was the perfect place to be raised as a child. I mean, we were walking distance from the lake and the beach, and it's just a small community, relatively small, and it was really a wonderful childhood. Went off to college, majored in accounting, which I hated every minute of that, but I'm so grateful that I got the degree because I've used it multiple times in my careers and needed it today. I'm married to the most perfect wife on the planet, Mary. She supports me. She puts up with me. She has more faith in me than I have in myself. And I have a wonderful son, Adam, who's actually joined my business with me, and it's great to work with him. So that's kind of a quick.
That is awesome. That is so cool. Where do you live now?
Oh, right now I'm living in Phoenix, Arizona. We've been here for quite a bit, about 25 years now, and love it. It's a wonderful place to live.
Oh, cool. And I'm just curious, how long have you been married?
We've been married now 38 years. 30 going on
wow.
39.
So man, coming up on a big one soon, huh?
That's right.
You got some plans? You're going to take the lady on a cruise or something cool?
I'd like to. She's not big on cruises, though. I love the cruises. She doesn't. So we're going to do what she likes to do. And I'm not sure what that is right now, but we're going to figure it out. We got a little time.
Got you, man. And I'm not putting you on the spot. Not at all. Not at all.
No.
So give us a little background about your career, because your book, and your story really is about what happened later in your career, which is really crazy, kind of interesting, and we'll get into that a little bit. But tell us what you like after you got out of college. Tell us what you did for until
right. So when I got out of college, I went to work for a CPA firm. Every day I went there, I really felt like I was going to prison every day. I'm not a numbers person. I'm a numbers person, but I don't want to crunch them all day. That's not me. I'm more of a people person. And then I left and went to work for an oil company. I thought it'd be better in their accounting department, and it wasn't any better. Just a different form of prison, I guess.
Yeah.
Then I got out and I got into sales for a little bit, which I really loved. But then I ended up working for an airline for a while, for about a year and a half. Okay. And it was a great experience. Loved it. It was really fun. Got to travel all over the world and for free. And that's kind of neat. And then I got back into sales and got involved in a family business. Okay. Then worked for a big corporation, a Fortune 500. And that's where I went for my last 18 years in my employment.
Wow. Okay. So you had a long tenure with this company, and then the big thing happened, right?
Yep.
Tell us. Okay. So you were kind of winding down in your career, right? I mean, you're on your way out the door, so to speak. And tell us what happened.
Well, it was the craziest thing. First of all, like you said, I was 18 years with the same company. I was 63 and just got fired. I would not wish it on anyone. We did the math, Trent, and if we drained all of our savings and all of our retirement, we were scheduled to be broke by 65. And at this point, I'm thinking, who's going to hire me at my age? But Trent, the hardest part of that wasn't that. That was very hard, believe me. Hardest part was driving home that day, thinking, how am I going to tell my wife, Mary? At that point, we'd been married for 30 years. She did not deserve the mess I just threw her life into. She was nothing but supporting and a most perfect wife and mother. And this is not how our ending was supposed to be at all. So anyways, I decided to start looking for another corporate job. My heart wasn't in it. I did not want to go back to the corporate world, but I had to keep a roof over my head, put food on the table. But I couldn't just sit back and say, okay. So anyways, I'm interviewing, and the companies I'm interviewing with, they basically said in a very polite way, no, the company that fired you did the right thing. You're of no value anymore. We don't really need you. And they did the right thing. And so I thought, okay, that's really nice. Yeah. And so then I thought, well, this is not working out very good. But I didn't want to. I think they could tell. When you can tell somebody his heart isn't in it. They don't really want the job, but they're interviewing because I don't know. So I decided I'd take a huge risk. And I started to start my own business. I went to work as an independent sales agent on straight commission, no salary, no safety net, no benefits. The first months, Trent, were brutal. Cold calls, constant cold calls, constant rejection, rookie mistakes. I heard more no's in a couple months than I think I'd ever heard in my life. But as I look back, at that time I didn't understand this, but as I look back and reflect on it, I honestly believe all that resistance I was getting, all that rejection I was getting, was the resistance I needed to build the mental muscles I needed to punch through that dark period of my life. After 10 months of grinding, and I'm talking real grinding, I hit an incredible milestone. I was suddenly making more money than my good paying corporate salary. And for a second, I thought, we made it. But I thought, wait, we didn't make nothing. I've been making good money for 40 years, and look what happened. Obviously, I was a failure at building wealth. I mean, hey, it's embarrassing to admit on your show, but I mean, who else would, what else other definition is, but I'm a total failure at that. So I'm thinking, okay, I can't waste any more time with crazy investment theories and stuff because my runway, I don't have much. My runway is more like a helicopter pad, Trent. I didn't have time to keep making those same mistakes again. Right. So what I did is I dug in myself. I read 21 books on personal finance, 13 podcasts I listened to consistently on personal finance, read blogs, newsletter. Every time I got a good idea, Trent, I'd put it on one piece of paper. Once that paper got filled up, I said, I'm not going to go any beyond one piece. Wow. So I take the worst idea off and put a better one on. And I kept refining it to a set it and forget it approach. Because I had a company to run. I could be watching Wall Street. What happened was after 6 years, I did what I thought was impossible. From terrified, and I do mean terrified of being broke, to a 7-figure portfolio and real financial freedom. Trent, I now know it is never too late to rewrite your story. Because if I can pull that off starting as late as 63, anybody can with the right direction. And I know that is true.
Man, I love that. I love it. But you had to do some hard work. 21 books, 13 podcasts. You had to get educated, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And there's no other way to do that than put in the time, put in the work, and put in the effort, right?
Absolutely.
And it sounds like what you did is you kind of just said, you know what? I got to catch up. And you just crammed. You just had a cram session, right? And you caught up. And you actually caught up so much you got ahead.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So
can I tell you about...
Tell us a little bit about, tell us what the book is about.
Well, the book is simple. What I did is I decided I didn't want this. When you hear finance book, it's like, hey, let me read that before I go to bed. It'll put me to sleep. Okay. Charts and graphs. I don't want to read it. I wrote this book for people like me, an average person without the financial background of Wall Street. I have no background. People think, accounting. Accounting has nothing to do with investing. Nothing to do with investing whatsoever. And so anyways, I wrote it for the average person. I wrote real life stories in there of me and other people who failed miserably and succeeded significantly and showed the difference. And then when I showed the principle, people were going, now I get it, David. I've heard that term before, but I never understood it. But when you put it in these simple terms, I understand it. And you give us a story and example, it makes total sense. That's what I was looking for. I didn't want another financial book. There's 100,000 financial books out there almost. We don't need another one. We really don't. But we do need one that talks in plain English to the average person who maybe isn't even super educated or Let me tell you how my wife, when she was a child, they gave her an IQ test. She scored 1 point away from being a genius. I, on the other hand, failed the second grade. So I always say, together we make one average intelligent person if you combine it. So I made this for average people, not the smart ones.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I love it. How long's the book been out? It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. On Amazon. It's been out since January. First week out, it hit Amazon hot new release. Okay, I was excited about that. Goodreads, 600 and some requests for it. So I mean, it's being received very well. I'm very excited about it. The audio version is going to come out within 30 days, and so I feel very blessed about it. And but I didn't do this, Trent, to be an author. I really didn't. I'm not going to make a penny off this book. I'll probably lose money off the book, but I have a company that's doing very well. We had a record year last year, so I'm not worried about it. I was in a very dark storm when I was 63. And I was given a lifeline in the form of this one-page compass in terms of the inspiration of it all. And I just felt like it would be the ultimate in selfishness not to share it with people. And that's what I'm here to do. And in fact, all your listeners are going to get a free download of the one-page compass. It's the secret sauce. This one page, I have it literally on one piece of paper. It took me from 63, nearly broke, to 69 to be a millionaire. And I want them to have it for free. I'm not here to, if you want the book, it goes with it. It's a companion, great, but you can get it on Amazon. But I want you all to have the compass. I really do, for free.
Yeah. Okay. Now, did I have the compass in the notes that you gave me, or where do you get that?
What they do is they just go to onepagewealthcompass.com/free, and they can download it instantly and have it for themselves. And they'll also be part of the newsletter, so they'll get tips and virtual coaching from me from time to time, just to help along, give them some ideas and things like that. But that's it. There's nothing to buy. The only thing you can buy on my site is there's a link to the Amazon book, but everything else is free. This is not a money thing. It's more of a passion project for me, to be honest.
Cool. So, I'm interested. Tell us about the business that you're in, and what you do in this business that generated a 7-figure income. Yeah.
Well, let me preface it. It's very boring, so we'll brief on this. It's a B2B business to business, and it's kind of a niche specialty insurance type of thing. Okay. And if I talk about any more, people are going to start turning off the show because it's very boring. But you know what? It's not boring to me because I love my clients. And they're great people, and I get to help them in their business succeed. I love working with my son. So even though it sounds boring, it's really, I love it. I look forward to going to work every day.
Right. That's cool. Yeah, life is about relationships, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I own a business for like 14 years in New Zealand, and it was just so much better to call somebody that when we had a problem or an issue or whatever, or just needed to talk or catch up, somebody that I kind of liked, rather than somebody that I even made money with, but I just didn't really talk to them. And we spend so much time working, especially us Americans. We just work. I mean, spend more time working than with our own families.
Yeah, that's right.
And I had my own business, and I had some customers, I had some clients, and I had stuff where I'm like, you know what? You're just such a pain. This is the last time we're talking to each other. And they're like, what? You don't want my business? I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
You cause me so much grief that I don't care. I don't care. And that's cool when you're in a position like that. Because hey, sometimes you're in a position where you got to take everything you can get. And I did that for years. And finally I kind of got to a place where I'm like, you know what? This $100 order that you are trying to put these different popcorn bags into one box and do this and do that, and it changed over time that it took me to do that $100 order was the same amount of time, that it took me to organize a freaking $10,000 order.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Now, not to make the popcorn, because that's different, but to get the thing organized. And then now you pissed off all my staff, right?
Yeah.
And I've got somebody that's upset, and you know how that goes, right? You got one person on fire, the whole place gets on, starts to get wired up. So I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And, and I'll tell you, you know what? A couple of them I gave a second chance to. They'd be good for a few months.
Yeah, that is.
Right back to the same old malarkey. And so, you know what? It's just not often people change. They just don't.
No.
And you can be nice. I mean, I didn't burn a bridge. I just said, hey, we just don't want your business anymore. Yeah. Here's the other guy. Call this guy that does popcorn.
Yeah.
He'll take your order. I'm done though. We're done. I owned a kettle corn manufacturing business in New Zealand.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yeah, so they didn't have salty, sweet popcorn. I had a buddy, and we started a weekend business, and it blew up, went crazy. And I learned about manufacturing and bags and boxes and shipping and everything, because I was in IT. I was IT like consultant to begin. So it's been crazy run for me, right?
Yeah.
But hey, man, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So
Well,
cool. So what kind of advice do you like to give people, that have gotten themselves in a position where they got laid off or they got fired or, they lost their job or something, because you went through a dark spot, right? How did you kind of get yourself out of that?
Well, let me tell you, because you're mentioning the dark spot, and I know your show is a lot about grit and resilience, and I haven't told you the lowest point of that experience yet. So let me just share that with you, because that's even lower than getting fired.
Please do, yeah.
Well, this has been a couple of weeks after I got fired, and I was sending out resumes doing nothing, just going in circles. And my wife said, she's such a perfect person. She says, honey, I want to save some money because we were on track to go broke in 2 years. She says, this store is having a big sale, this one store. would you mind coming with me to help with the groceries? I said, well, sure, I got nothing else to do. So I went with her. I walked in the store, Trent. I looked around, and all I saw was women with little babies and baby carts crying. I felt like I was the only man in the store. I'm sure I wasn't, but I felt like it, okay? And I felt like, what am I doing here in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, in a grocery? I should be out earning money to provide for my family, not in this grocery store. I felt like I had a sign on my chest, biggest loser. I just was, So anyways, my wife's checking out at the checkout, and I'm standing at the end of the checkout waiting for her. And I just remember that moment. It was like my worst moment. I felt like I was in a corporate mental straitjacket that I couldn't get out. They threw me out, but I still had that corporate identity and I couldn't break through. I wanted to scream at that moment. I wanted to run out of there, but where was I going to run to? Who was I going to scream to? There was nobody. I just remember that at that point, I didn't ever tell my wife about this. Hope she doesn't hear your show, but I didn't want to make her worried, but I just, that was the lowest point. I went home that night and realized the corporate world clearly told me I was of no value. End of story. So David, get over it. We got to move on here. So I got the person inside me who was hiding and afraid and didn't want to come out. So we got to fight this thing. This is not an option. And I am not going to let my family have an ending that is miserable, that too many people in our society have that ending. That's not going to happen to us. And that's when I says, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to have a plan B. I'm just going to make it work. And the worst part of this is when I started my own business, it was worse than I'm telling you. I tried in my 40s twice to start my own business and failed miserably.
Right.
One time I went to a serious 6-figure debt that took me years to pay off. So this wasn't a casual decision like, I'm going to start my own business, never try that. No, I tried it twice and I failed. The corporate world told me I failed. I failed the second grade. I fail everywhere. So it's like, where am I going to go? But I said to myself, I'm not going to fail this one. Not when my wife, she's depending on me. I am not going to make this. And so that's when, during that grinding 10 months, I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, pray like everything depends on God, then get up and work like everything depends on you. All I was doing for 10 weeks was praying and working. And then I started to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then with my compass, I saw things starting to happen in my investments. And I said, this is going to work. I mean, we got a ways to go yet, but it's going to work. And fortunately, it really did.
Man, golly. When the firing happened and all that, did you go through the thing like, I've given, all my time and my effort and my life, and they just use me and abuse me, and this is unfair, and this just isn't right. And did you go through that and to kind of have to reconcile that?
I may have, but it didn't last really long because I'm a realist. I know that they paid me really good money for those 18 years. They treated me real. I got a new company car. Occasionally, I got to fly on the company jet. I mean, they a 6-figure income. So I had no room to complain, and they had every right to fire me. They don't owe me any more money. They paid me up to the time I worked, and that's it. Sure. So I said to myself, I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. This is like we're our backs against the wall, and I can't think that way. I just can't think that way. And so that's why I wouldn't allow myself to go there. I'm sure I like say in the beginning, I went there a little bit, but I had to get over that really quickly. And I want to tell you, there was a point, Trent, if I could, that helped me get the clear vision I really needed. And it was a story I heard, a true story about the time I was in my dark period there. And if I'd like to share it briefly, scientists at the Max Planck Institute did an experiment. What they did is they placed people in the center of a dense German forest, and they told them to walk in a straight line to the edge. Now, these were all confident, capable people, but when the clouds covered the sun and they lost their point of reference, the GPS tracking they were wearing showed they were gradually starting to walk in circular motions. Some of them were actually ending up right back where they began, and yet each and every one of them was absolutely convinced they were walking a straight line the whole time. Trent, that is my life story for 40 years. I was working hard, making good money, doing what I thought was right when it came to investing, but literally just walking in circles until I was on the verge of financial collapse. That's when I said, when I heard that story, I says, that's why I need a compass, but not a metal compass like travelers use. I need a one-page compass because I don't know about you, Trent, but I'm the kind of guy, I get distracted real easy. Shiny object, a hot tip, and I'm off to the races in the wrong direction, okay? I couldn't do that anymore. I didn't have the time. I had to have this compass that gave me the 30,000 foot view I needed to stay on track. And I'm grateful for that, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be here probably today talking with you. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be, because I'm the kind of person that tends to go in circles too much.
Fair enough. Hey man, I'm totally with you. I am totally with you. Now I'm kind of curious. Okay, 63, right?
Yep.
And I don't know exactly retirement age, but usually it's around 62 or 65 or something like that.
65. I think 65 is the official, but I don't know.
So why didn't I'm just why didn't you just go like, I'm just going to ride this out until I start getting my government retirement check, right?
Yeah. Well,
because
first of all,
in your life.
Yeah, I had. But first of all, I wish I could have done that, but that wasn't going to work for us at all. One thing is, like I said, we were going to be we're out of cash by 65. Okay, so say I were to take Social Security. I don't know about you, but Social Security is nothing. I mean, that is just, I'm grateful. It's nice, but I couldn't make my whole life. I know people, Trent, I'm not kidding you. I know people, senior people who are in their 70s, 80s, who are living off Social Security exclusively. They have to decide sometimes between food and medicine or food and rent. That was not the kind of life I was going to allow my wife to have. I'm not saying we have to live super rich and be multimillionaires, that kind of thing, but I wanted to retire with dignity. And that wasn't going to be me living off Social Security. I'm not against people who do that, but I don't think it's enough for anybody, to be honest with you. I mean, anybody. I really don't.
It's really sad, that people have worked their entire lives like that and felt like they've done their thing. They've paid their taxes. They've been loyal. They've done it. And they're like living in a little home or a trailer park. They can't go on vacation. They can't enjoy their retirement. They worked all their lives, and the government doesn't give them enough money. And they're up there flying around in planes, spending the money, giving it overseas with all the shit that's going on. I don't even get me going on that, okay? Because it's not a political thing. But we all know that is just the veterans. The EMTs, the firemen, the policemen, the people that serve, and the senior citizens, they should be taken care of.
Yeah.
And they're not. We're taking care of a bunch of these hypocrites.
Yep.
So yeah.
And can I say something to really go on your question? Me getting fired was truly a gift, because if I hadn't gotten fired, Trent, here's what would have happened. Okay, I would have stayed to 65. Right. Then I would have had maybe 2 years still. I wouldn't make that much difference, okay? And then I would have been living on Social Security, and my life would have been miserable. I am so grateful to this day they fired me. I need to send them a gift basket and a thank you card, because if they hadn't done that, and I'm going to be honest with you, Trent, I knew 8 years before that I should have quit. I just knew it. You know how you fence that? But I didn't have the guts. Who quits a 6-figure job with a company car and a bunch of perks like that when you're that old, and there's not a lot of options after when you got that? So I didn't have the guts to do it. So they just not pushed me out of the corporate nest. And it was the greatest gift they gave me, because like I said, I wouldn't be here with you today if they hadn't. And my life would not be nearly. I am such a stronger person. I am such a more focused person. I'm not bragging. Please don't think it that way. I'm more focused and driven, and I'm able to help people now, that instead of needing help from other people, for me. And I just felt like it was one of the greatest gifts of my entire career. Matter of fact, it was the greatest gift in my entire career, getting fired. Now, it didn't seem like at the time, I promise you. Right. But looking back, it was the greatest gift. Really.
Yeah, that's really awesome. The old saying of you got lemons and you made lemonade, right?
Yeah. Well, I've heard someone, when I read a book recently, and the person said they were going through just a tough time, and they were saying a prayer, and they were saying, "Please, God, relieve me of this burden. I think it's just too much for me." And the answer they got back in their mind was, "I love you too much to deny you of this experience." And that's exactly what happened to me. I prayed, "Please, God, relieve me of this burden," and He loved me too much to deny me that experience. I'm so great He had that love for me, because I needed that experience. I really did.
Yeah. That's it kind of just it's like kind of a short version of the whole Job thing, where a little bit. Yeah, that's awesome. So you're obviously a Christian, and
Yes.
have you always been a Christian your entire life?
I have. I mean, when in my early 20s, I really, feel like I found Christ. But even as a child, I was raised a Christian and all that.
Cool. And your wife as well, and your
son.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a Christian too, and like I'm not all about like trying to convert people over and do their thing.
Yeah, me neither.
People, but this is what works for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And and there's a spiritual side to every person. You have a soul, you have a spirit, you have and a body and emotions and feelings and all these things. So yeah, I think when I work with clients, go ahead.
Trent, if it wasn't for my faith going through that, I don't think I could have went through it. I really don't. Right. That's the one constant that I knew. If I just trusted in the Lord. I don't know how this is going to work out. I really don't, but I trust in you, and I'm going to try to follow the Spirit, and that's exactly what happened. I did my best to follow the Spirit, and I was guided in a way that I'm grateful for.
Yeah, it's really tough for me to watch people that go like, man, God let that happen. God calls that. God did that. And I had cancer 3 times every year for 3 years. I mean, the hip cancer was the first one, and I am permanently handicapped from it. I have a leg shorter than the other. They were 99% of the time they cut it off. They cut the leg off. My dad got involved and said, "You're not cutting his leg off." I drug this infected hip leg around for 2 years. It was like a dummy leg, just flopped around, and it was terrible. It was horrible. And the 3rd time I went and had the biopsy on my pancreas, and pancreas cancer, that's a death sentence, man. Yeah. And it was the week of my birthday, and I went. I had the biopsy, and I'm just like, I know my birthday present is going to be that this is not cancer. This is something else. It was cancer. Wow. And I had to drive about an hour and a half to go to this special clinic, and on the way home, I just thought, I'm just not going to turn my back on God. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to blame him. I believe that the earth heaven is God's place. Yeah. The earth is the imperfect place, and things just happen because we aren't perfect, and we're living in an imperfect world. And you know what? It's true. Bad things happen to good people, and it's just the way it is. Yeah. And it's, how are you going to deal with it? And I knew that if I decided that I got mad at God and I blamed him, and I was like, you know what? I turned my back on him, I know for sure I would have no chance, because I can't do this by myself. I could not do it by myself, man. Yeah. I mean, there are so many, like in my story, you can't even call them coincidences, right? Yeah. It happened along the way, and you can look back and you can see and go like, that just doesn't make sense how that added up and that happened, and you were just at the right place at the right time and the right person, and all these things, and you beat less than a 5% chance and had a year, and I'm coming up on 5 years cancer free.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Man, it's like, you just can't do that. And it just crushes me. Even when Christians do that, they're like, God let that happen. God did it. God did it to punish me. Yeah. No. Yeah. Remember, Jesus came to save us, to give us a way out, right? And that's what he does. He gives you a way out of a situation. He doesn't cause the situation. And that's kind of, if you want it, that's my kind of spiritual message for my story, right?
Yeah. And my guess is that experience made you stronger in many ways. Okay. And that's what happens. I think we're here on earth going through these struggles, and we think they're curses or whatever, but they're really blessings that we just have to figure out. And if we have faith and we keep going, we'll be stronger. We'll be better than we were before. It's funny.
Yeah. And I mean, it used to, I had 9 surgeons within about 3 weeks go like, hey, you got pancreas cancer, man. You're going to be dead in a year. You need to leave New Zealand. You have nothing here but this business. Your parents are at home. This is during COVID. So no traveling. right?
Yeah.
They're like, go home and be with your parents for the final year of your life, get your affairs in order, and be with the people that love you, and accept the fact that you're going to die.
Oh my gosh.
And for about three weeks, I was like, you know what? I thought about like, I'm just gonna just do this. I'm done. I'm tired. I've had a good run. This one's gonna get me. It's impossible. Less than a 5% chance. Who beats that? Nobody. So I'm just, and they're just. I had a conversation with my folks after an appointment. That was just, a submarine, just a crusher, man. And after every appointment, so I have my folks on like speakerphone, so we'd all listen, and then afterwards we call and just kind of like debrief. And they realized like he's not going to come home. He's probably gonna just stay in New Zealand until he dies. And because I was being very frank, I'm like, look, I'm not gonna come home with no insurance, and like I'm gonna die. And it's gonna happen, and so I'm just gonna stay here and work hard on my business, do the best I can. And when I die, you guys just get me home and do whatever you want with me. And the hopelessness and the helplessness and that, like, it really just, it turned my life around, because we had my brother's best friend died of cancer like 6 months before I got cancer. And watching his parents bury him was just, and a good friend, a really good friend in New Zealand took his life over some business crap that, and watching his parents have to bury their child, I just thought, I am going, you know what? On my tombstone is going to be, he fought till his last breath.
That's right. That's good.
If I'm going down, I'm going down swinging, and I'm going to fight. And I got, it just got really simple, right? It got really simple. It was like, I'm not trying to live 100 years. Yeah. I'm not even worried about next year. I'm worried about today. I'm trying to win today. That's it. I just got to win today. And if I win today and I win tomorrow and I win the next day, that's living, man. That's living. Yeah. And so that's what it did for me. It was like these big, huge goals that we put out, they're overwhelming. You break it down in little pieces and step by step, little by little,
That's right.
Yeah. So, did that kind of happen with you where, you were like, hey, man, I know you have this big, this compass plan, but there's steps within the plan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no.
That's it, right?
No, one of the things by compass, and I know they can't see this, but it's a one page, is there's a thing called the 9 trail markers. And what you do is you start from where you're at. So the first one is income and career success. A lot of people, most of the financial books I read, they never talked about your income because they assumed you must be making good money. You wouldn't be reading books on investing. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of people who are underemployed, underpaid, underappreciated, and they are in a situation that they need to get out of or improve significantly. And that's why my first 2 chapters in the book, I write that, and the first trail marker is that. But then some people might say, well, David, I got to make good money, but I'm in debt. I've got serious credit card debt. Well, then they go right to number 3 and start that point and move forward, okay? Cool. So it's a real simple process. Everyone has to be, where should everyone start? Well, it depends on you, the person. And this is customized to each individual to take them along step by step from where they're at to real financial freedom. And that's why I wrote it, because it's not that complicated. Wall Street loves complexity, Trent. Here's the truth. Simplicity is for winners. Complexity is for victims. And people, Wall Street wants you to be a victim. They want you to feel like you need them so they can get their cut of the pie. And it sounds so little, it's 1% or 2%, but that compounds over 40 years. That's a lot of money. They're talking millions in some cases. So I just says, this is not complicated. If people only knew how easy it was, no matter how tough their situation is, they can turn it around. Just like you turned your situation around, I turned my situation around. Anybody can turn their financial situation around with the right information. I really believe that.
The compass now, does it talk about, investment vehicles and like, like stocks and crypto and bonds and that kind of real estate, things like that, or
yes, to a degree. But let me share with you a real practical thing that happened to me that your listeners might relate to. Cool. I doubled my portfolio 3 times in that 6-year period. Now, most people in finance, that's not possible, David. The market didn't increase that much. You're either delusional or you're a liar. Well, I mean, neither. And let me tell you why. First of all, I wasn't day trading, chasing crypto, or trying to time the market. I was doing something so boring it would put you to sleep. And here's the crazy thing, Trent. When the market was down, I was thrilled. When other people were panicking and selling, I was buying more shares at discount prices. My only regret was the market wasn't down more during that 6-year period because I'd even done better than I did, okay? But what really surprised me was the math. And there's something called the rule of 72. And what it says is, if you're making a 10% return on your money in 7.2 years or 86 months roughly, your money will double. Well, once I got my compass in place, my first double occurred not in 86 months, but in 30 months. My second one, only 13. My third one, 29, for an average of 24 months, way less than half the expected time. But here's what really the secret was. It wasn't the returns. I was doing 3 things I finally figured out that I didn't know for 40 years how to do, and I figured this out. Here's the 3 things. 1, every time I got paid, I took a portion of that, what percentage I determined, and stuck it right into savings. I got it out of my checking account and put it in savings so I wasn't tempted to spend it. Okay, I paid myself first, as a lot of people say. Okay, the second thing is I got the right kind of investments. And for me, it's low-cost index fund. Trent, I only own 2 funds. This is how simple my process is. The 2 funds are, one is the U.S. market. I own every publicly traded stock in the United States in one fund. The other fund is international. I own every publicly traded stock outside the United States. So Trent, I literally own every publicly traded stock on the planet. For me to go to zero, the entire world economic system, even in New Zealand, would have to collapse to nothing. And I feel pretty comfortable that's not going to happen, at least not in my lifetime, hopefully. And so I can sleep good at night having that diversification. And the last thing I want to mention of the 3, market volatility. I use market volatility to work for me instead of against me. Too many people use their emotions to buy, and they buy high and sell low, which is the opposite of what you want to do. You picture this, Trent. Say you go to the department store and they said 50% off. Would you go up to the clerk and say, hey, I don't want no 50% off. I want full retail. I'm a full retail, but you would never. They think you're crazy. But yet with the stock market, people do it every day. Oh my gosh, the market's down. I better get my money out. No, that's when you want to buy. You don't want to get your money out. And people have that backwards thinking. What I was able to do is end the cycle that I was in. I was able to build my wealth twice as fast. And here's the important part, with half the risk that I was doing previously and that so many other people are doing. And that made all the difference. And it's accelerated my time frame much more. I'm not here to tell everyone in 6 years you're going to be a millionaire, because that would be a lot. Okay, not everyone's going to be able to do what I did, but I am here to tell you 6 years from now, if you were to start right now, you will be in a much better position. And who cares if you're not as good as your neighbor? It's improving your situation, not worrying compared to I'm a millionaire, I'm a billionaire, whatever it is. The thing is, it's not about that. It's really about improving your situation. And what happens in 12 years if you're like, say you're not 63, say you're 43 or 53 or 23 or 33. Oh my gosh, you've got such an advantage. Please don't squander it by procrastinating. Start now. Oh my gosh, start now.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. And I'm just kind of looking. You had some questions on here. Why? Let's see. Why do you say emergency funds have a serious flaw? What are the 3 C's of conflict? Let's see. Why do athletes make millions and go broke, while most blue collar workers end up millionaires? Yeah. So any of those.
Let me talk about that. Let me tell you a lie that people believe. Some people are thinking to themselves, well, yeah, if I made as much money as David, or if I made as much money as Trent, I could invest too. But I'm living paycheck to paycheck, buddy. I don't have that kind of room. I'm barely making it. So don't be telling me about investing. Well, let me tell you why that's a lie. Okay. And we're going to talk about the athletes for a minute. Cool. The NBA, the National Basketball Association, the average player makes over $10 million per year. I didn't say $10 million in their career, Trent. I said in a single year. And yet, after 5 years of retirement, 60% of them are broke, according to the Netflix documentary Broke. And the NFL is even worse. After only 2 years of retirement, 78% of them are either bankrupt or in serious financial stress. That's according to Sports Illustrated. Now let's compare that to Dale Schroeder. a basketball-loving carpenter who made an average to below average income his entire life. He chose to live on less than he earned, which is one of the things in my compass, and invest the difference wisely. He ended up with a $3 million portfolio. Trent, that's more than most of the NBA and most of the NFL players end up with their tens of millions of dollars. But here's what I discovered when I made my compass that changed my perspective on things tremendously. Making money is different than building wealth. Let me tell you, those pro athletes, they are amazing at making money. I mean, how many people do you know make over $10 million a year? Not very many, okay? But yet, most of them, not all, I'm not here to say all of them, but most of them were terrible at building wealth. Dale Schroeder, on the other hand, he was pretty lousy at making money. Okay, I mean, let's be frank here. Okay, good guy, but he was a pro, a master at building wealth. Okay, that's when like a light bulb moment hit over my head. For 40 years, I was pretty good at making money. I made pretty decent money, but I was terrible, like the athletes didn't make that much money, but terrible at building wealth. That's what the compass did for me. And it works on any compass. Whether you're making barely much money like Dale Schroeder, or you're making tens of millions of dollars, or you're somewhere in between like most people are, it works. It's not a how high or how low. It's a basic, simple math that will work for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. This is so good. This is so good. Is there anything kind of that we haven't talked about that you think is important or we've missed?
Yeah, I'd like to mention one thing. It's one of the biggest mistakes I think people make in personal finance, okay? And they're paying these tiny fees. Tiny fees are like termites. You don't even notice them until your whole financial foundation crumbles. And let me explain what I mean in practical terms. You got two people, A and B. They both say 25, starting out in their career. They're going to work for 40 years, probably to 65. They both decide to put $25 a week, fairly modest amount, away for investing for the future. Person A puts it in a low-cost index fund with a 0.03% annual management fee, which is what I was talking about earlier. Person B goes to an advisor who charges a full 1%, which is common, by the way, and they put them in an active fund with a 5.75 upfront load and a 0.66% ongoing management fee, which is not uncommon. Okay, now let's follow these people for 40 years. Same market returns, same contributions. On 65, Person A has a $1 million portfolio on a modest $25 a week put away. Person B has a $570,000 portfolio, a $430,000 difference. Trent, they made the exact same contributions. The market was the exact same for both of them. And the only difference was these tiny little termite-sized fees eating away at their portfolio, at the one person's portfolio.
Right.
And here's the crazy thing. We're assuming they never got a raise. If we figure their regular raises, that could be nearly $1 million difference in there. And here's the tragedy of all tragedies. Person B probably feels like, oh, I got great service, David. My advisor was nice. He knew my kids' names. I went golfing with him a couple of times. Little did he realize he did the equivalent of funding someone else's retirement with half of his own money. And Trent, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but for 40 years, I never questioned fees. I thought those were the rules of the games. When I made my compass, I realized something very important. The rules we don't question can cost us the most. In person B's case, it cost him $430,000.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that compound interest thing can work for you or against you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, are you on social media at all? Do you have any social media?
I do. The best place to reach me is at my website, onepagewealthcompass.com. And if you go to onepagewealthcompass.com/free, you can download the free PDF of the compass we've been talking about. But I'm on Instagram. I know I'm 72, so I'm catching up. I'm not like you guys. Okay, but I do have Instagram. I do have a TikTok. I do have a YouTube channel, but it's slowly coming about. It's not like
I get it. Awesome, man. Awesome. I just wanted to check and see. Because in our info and in our notes, I didn't see any, but hey, start with the website, guys. If you want to get in touch with David, you want to talk to David, I'm sure that he'd be happy to talk with you if you had some particular questions or maybe some private questions that you wanted to ask. Feel comfortable, putting in messages or whatever. Please, I'm sure there's a contact form kind of thing on your website.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, shoot me. I read every question. I read every review. Matter of fact, can I share a review that I think makes a point for your listeners?
Yeah, please. Yeah, sure.
Okay, here's the deal. This is from a clinical psychologist with 25 years experience, no financial background at all. Okay, he said he was facing his own career crisis. He said the one-page wealth compass gave him the exact financial hope and practical steps he needed. But here's the part I like the most of his quote. I couldn't put the book down. That's what I mean. It's written like story form. It's written true stories. So these aren't made up stories, okay? That every average person, even if somebody who flunked out of the second grade, can understand it, okay? It's really simple terms. So if you feel like, oh, I don't want to get in a finance book, well, then you'll love this book because it's really quite different than most. It's much different than 21 I read. Much of a difference. Those will put you to sleep. Some of them, they're good though.
That's awesome. I love it, man. I love it. Yeah. So, guys, it sounds like if you have some questions, you want to talk to David, the best way to get in touch with him is on his website, which is onepagewealthcompass.com, right? And you can see what he's about. Now, do you do some speaking as well, and do you do some stuff like that?
Some speaking, yes, but I'm not a financial advisor. I want you to know that I'm a businessman, and I'm just trying to help people out because it worked for me wonderfully, and from what I got from these 21 books. But can I also say one thing? Because I know you have a lot of young listeners, and they're thinking, "Oh, David, come on, I have time. I don't need to worry about this." Let me just share with you a couple statistics from the National Council on Aging, so people don't get behind here. 80% of older adults face financial insecurity. Trent, I didn't say 20 or 30 or even 50%. That's most of our society, 80%. I mean, it's very few don't. So which means most people are not doing anything like this. They're waiting till too long, and then it's too late now. 50% of people 60 plus do not have sufficient income to cover their basic needs. I'm talking about housing, food, and healthcare. They don't have enough. Half the society of this rich America society, we have half of the people. And the number one cause for gut-wrenching stress for seniors is the fear of running out of money before they run out of life. And that is their number one fear. And these are people who worked 40 years, Trent, good and loyal employees, making other people rich, but they didn't stop to get their own plan to make themselves rich. And that's what the whole Compass is about. So please don't think you're starting too late or too early. Download the Compass. It's free. There's no cost or obligation. And just start today. Find out where you're at and where you want to go. And it'll give you the direct path to real financial freedom, I believe, because I know it worked wonderful for me.
Man, guys, I think we can tell David his heart is genuine. He's in the right place. He's not trying to charge you consulting fees. It's not going to be a bait and switch. There's none of that. He doesn't need to make any more money. He's doing fine, right? He's doing this because I feel like that he wants to give back to society. And this is kind of his way of doing that. And you know what? It makes you feel great. I do it all the time. I give free advice, about patient advocate stuff and, cancer consulting all the time, and I don't get paid. But you know what? It makes me feel good.
Exactly.
And, and you can't buy it. You can't buy that, right? Yeah. And so that I think you're in the same place as me. You just do it in a different industry.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. You're the first person that I've ever had. I've been doing the show a little over a year. That's come on to talk about finance stuff and money stuff and everything. But you know what? I loved it because you got the story. You had an obstacle to conquer, right? You were in a hole and you had to dig out. And that's what the Conquerors crew is about, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are in that hole. And I thought it'd be wonderful, And so, man, I appreciate having you on the show. It's been really good, really cool. And I feel like we're kind of winding down, but I always just is there anything else that you want to say or, promote or anything?
No, I just like to encourage everyone to go to the website, get the free download. There's nothing to buy on the website, so I'm sorry if you want to buy stuff other than a link to the Amazon book if you want that. But cool. But I do like to end with one thing, and that is something that the Compass helped me understand, and it's just changed my life. And it goes like it's this: clear direction beats misdirected speed every time. For 40 years, I had misdirected speed. I was spinning my wheels, going in circles, and thinking I was doing the right thing. once I got the compass and got the clear direction, I accomplished more in 6 years than I had in the previous 40 years in terms of building wealth. And that's what I want to encourage everyone. It's just one page of clarity is what I want to share with you. One page of crystal clarity.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? If you don't mind, when like in the show notes and stuff like that, I may just actually put the link to the free compass if you're okay with it.
Absolutely. And I'll send you a link to the book and the compass for your show notes if you like.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome. Lovely guys. Well, yeah, hey, we had a couple comments in the chat. I don't know. Can you see that?
Oh, I can. Yes.
Yeah.
Enjoy to see you guys. Keep it up.
Somebody from New Zealand, so that's cool.
That is cool.
I love it, man. I love it because I'm a dual citizen. Lived so long, but I've been back in the States for my health and everything. So
sure.
But yeah, hey, that's cool, man. Shout out to New Zealand. I love it, man. That's paradise, man. If you ever get a chance to go.
I've always wanted to go to New Zealand or Australia. I've just never had the opportunity. I've been to a lot of places.
Do both. If you go all the way, man, do a couple weeks in each because it's a long trip. It's literally halfway across the world. And but you know what? The overnight flight's not bad. It really isn't.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth doing like a 3 or 4 hour across the country than a 12-hour all-nighter. So anyways, well, guys, hey, another session. Interesting topic, wonderful guest. Thank you for your time, David. And I'm going to take us out, guys. So, hey, God bless. Godspeed to you this week. And never forget that grit don't quit. We are